Hello, good morning. So it's 11 a.m. and I'd like to welcome everyone to the RISE webinar number 1. This is Manitoba Envirothon webinar presentation with Jacqueline Monteith for Tuesday, May 19th, 2020. So we'll get started in a couple of minutes, just to make sure everyone has signed in and have no issues. And we'll go into the agenda. Okay, so welcome everyone. My name is Chantal Henderson. I'm the Indigenous Programs Outreach Coordinator for Green Action Center. Hello. And yeah, so this is our first webinar out of 6 webinars for our RISE webinar series. As you know, this was created in response to the cancellation of the RISE conference that was originally scheduled for this week. RISE is recognizing Indigenous sustainable education, and it's basically an event part of the First Nations Waste Minimization Project at the Green Action Center. So welcome everyone. We're going to go into our agenda. Let's see, so here we go. So welcome. Beth, do you want to explain about the Q&A and the guidance about the webinar? Maybe introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, and welcome. I'm going to be sort of monitoring what you put in the Q&A area in case you have any questions. We're not going to use the chat feature. We're just going to use the Q&A section if you have questions for our presenter, and then we'll address them at the end, and hopefully we'll get to everyone's questions. But if you could just keep any comments to the Q&A, even if you need assistance with something, we'll be monitoring that throughout the webinar. Thanks.
Okay. All right. So I would quickly like to acknowledge that we are located on the original lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji Cree, Dakota, and Dene peoples, as well as the homeland of the Métis Nation. So we have some poll questions that we would like everyone to quickly participate in, just to find out how you heard about the webinar and so forth. So Beth, if you want to, basically you just have to choose an answer insert an answer and let us know how you heard about the RISE webinar. So, yeah.
Okay, so we're going to launch it now, and we'll give people a few seconds to respond before we show the results.
All right.
So you should, hopefully, attendees now should be able to see the poll. Okay, we're at 80%, almost there. Couple more seconds, and then let's see the results. Okay. So we have 25% of participants attended last year's teachers conference, and looks like we've got half teachers and half others. So that's a nice mix of participants. And we have 25% from a Manitoba First Nation. And it looks like email was how you found out about it. So thanks very much for participating.
All right, great. So I'm going to pass it off to, well, Jacqueline, after I quickly introduce her. So Jacqueline Monteith, she is a science instructional coach with Frontier School Division. Jacqueline taught in northern Manitoba. Oh, hold on. Okay, everyone should still excuse my, there we go. There's my screen. So, oops. So Jacqueline Monteith, science instructional coach with Frontier School Division. Jacqueline taught in northern Manitoba for 10 years before becoming a coach, and now travels throughout the entire province, providing science-based support for teachers and students. Jacqueline has been involved with the Manitoba Envirothon since 2007. So take it away, Jacqueline. Jacqueline?
Hi, folks. I don't see myself on here just yet. Can you see me?
Yes.
Okay. So good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me here. I would also like to say that this is the first time I'm presenting on Zoom. So we have a lot of forgiveness for first timers here in case I mess anything up. So as mentioned earlier, I'm one of two science coaches with Frontier School Division. We are primarily Indigenous school division. I think 90% of our population is Indigenous. And our school division spans from Falcon Beach in the south all the way up to Churchill and Brochet in the far north, and everywhere in between. So our geographical range is quite big as well. When I was a classroom teacher, I taught for 10 years in Cormorant, which is an hour northeast of the Pas. I became involved in a program called the Manitoba Envirothon, and I felt that it was such a connection to my students. It was all about land-based learning that I absolutely wanted to participate as a teacher and to get some of my students involved. And from there, it just took off for me because I absolutely saw how some of my students would connect to everything that is land-based, how out of our back door of our school, we were absolutely connected to you know, the trees, the water, the soil, the ground, everything around me, all screamed Envirothon. It was a perfect fit. I stopped being a classroom teacher and moved into this position in 2012. And at that time, instead of being a coach for Envirothon at the school level, I became part of the board for the Envirothon. I now represent our northern population on the board to make sure that our northern needs are met in terms of our students and the program. And then also started and have been running the Northern Regional Envirothon for many years as well. So I think it's about time to get into what exactly is the Envirothon. So here we go. And I'm just trying to share my screen, but now all of a sudden I don't see what I'm trying to share. So hang on one moment. Okay, when I go to screen share, now oh, there we go, got it. So if you can let me know if you can see my PowerPoint, that would be great.
Yep, we can see
Yes,
it.
we see it.
Thank you. So the Manitoba Envirothon is really all about environmental education, and it's all land-based learning. We like to approach our students with that encouragement of getting out of the four walls of our classroom, getting on the land, and this is a fantastic way to do it. The Envirothon, here we go, here's some basic info. It's environmental education for high schoolers. Teams of 5 students from grade 9 to 12 each become an expert in their discipline topics. And the disciplines are wildlife ecology, aquatic ecology, soils and geology, plant ecology, and the 5th is a theme that changes every year. And then the team just works together to complete a field test and an orals competition. It's not quite as easy and simple as that. There is a lot of knowledge base, there's a lot of studying to do, and then of course there's learning the land-based equipment and skills that go along with this as well. And here's the program model. First of all, you just recruit your interested students. You can decide if you want your program to be run during school hours, whether it's extracurricular, independent, any mix of these. We did a few years ago, wrote the courses for Envirothon. So in Manitoba, they are approved as credit courses. Students can earn half a credit at each grade level from 9 through 12, so a total of 2 credits in their high school career if they're participating in this as well. And you can email me for information if you want to create a course in your school. You have a team of 5 students, each becomes an expert in one of their disciplines, and then the teams prepare. They study both independently and together as a team. And this is basically how it works. All teams attend one of the 5 regionals that we have around the province. Again, I run the Northern Regional event each year. And the regional event winners are invited to attend the Manitoba Envirothon. And the Manitoba Envirothon winner is sponsored to attend the NCF International Envirothon, which is quite amazing. So every year a Manitoba team attends the international event. All right, I have some fun facts for you. This is a little bit of a quiz. You can do this on paper, you can do this in your head, but just keep track of what you know and what you're guessing on. So first question, how long has Envirothon been in Manitoba? Give me a year. Well, you can do it by year, I guess, or you can just calculate how many years that is until 2020. Second question, how many teams participated in the very first Manitoba Envirothon? Third question, the overarching organization of the Envirothon is the Manitoba Forestry Association, MFA. What year did we have to move to a regional model because we outgrew our own program? What is the highest number of teams that have participated in any given year? How many students in Manitoba have participated since its first year? Where was the 2018 event held? And finally, every year a Manitoba team is sponsored to attend the International Envirothon. What is the best placement from a Manitoba team ever? All right, so we'll go over the results, and again, just keep track yourself of what your results are. So the first one, how long has Envirothon been in Manitoba? Since 1996. So you can use it as a year, or you can say 24 years. 4 teams participated in that very first Envirothon. Just 4, and it's grown from there. We had to move to a regional model in 2010 because we couldn't support all of the schools that wanted to participate in the provincial event every year. So we moved to a regional model and now have qualifiers to attend the provincials. So the answer for that is 2010. Question 4, what is the highest number of teams that have participated in any given year? 70. But I'll take from 65 to 70 as a correct answer. How many students have participated since its first year? Around 4,000. So I say around because sometimes schools don't always come with a full team, or we're expecting a team and they can't show up for some reason. So I will take as a correct answer anywhere from 3,800 to 4,200. The 2018 Manitoba Envirothon was held for the first time in a northern community, and we went to Churchill for that. It was many years in the making, and it was absolutely phenomenal. And last is every year a Manitoba team is sponsored to attend the international event. What's the best placement? And the best placement is first place. So a few years ago, our amazing team from Swan River took home first place. All of the students received major sponsorships and scholarships and prizes, and it was absolutely fantastic. So we're going to be bragging about that one for a very long time. All right, so we have a quick poll now. I'm just curious, how many did you guess correctly?
So to be clear, what were the questions for the answers for number 5, 6, and 7?
4,000, but I will take between 3,800 and 4,200. Churchill and first place.
Number 5 was, number 6 was Churchill.
Yeah, and sorry guys, I see there's a lot going on in the chat room, but I can't see it myself. I don't want to leave my screen. So if you can let me know if there's any questions.
All right, I put down the answers to the questions.
Okay.
And the answers are coming in. Yeah, we're at 41% have voted. This is a trickier one. It's not just yes or no.
Yeah, it's how many did you get correct?
Yeah, so the answers are in the chat room box for anyone who were wondering if they were right. How many they got right?
Yes, we said
answer the poll.
We said we weren't using the chat box, and now we're using the chat box.
It's all right. That's that first time presentation forgiveness, right?
That's right. Yeah. So we're at 58% voted. I'm not sure maybe how much more time should we give?
We'll give another 20 seconds.
Sure. Precisely 20 seconds.
Precisely. In the meantime, I'm going to tell you a fantastic joke. And it has to do with Envirothon and science, and it's extra nerdy. What kind of tree is, what is a scientist's favorite tree? And Beth and Chantel, this one's coming to you if you have an answer.
I don't know, an elm tree?
Oh, good guess. It's chemistry.
Should have known.
Okay, well, I guess we're at almost, I guess, probably 70% because we've included panelists able to vote here, which I guess that would be unfair if Jacqueline voted. There we go.
All right, that's pretty good. I'm pretty impressed with that because these questions were wide open, and we did that on purpose just because, you know, these are fun facts and it wasn't an actual quiz. But I would like to take a moment to say thank you for participating in that. And I'm also wondering if anybody has any questions at the moment.
So this would be the time people can post questions in the chat room.
Mm-hmm.
For the Q&A, it looks like we're using both.
While you're bringing up any questions, here's a little bit of information about how to get started. You go to the website thinktrees.org, and I'm going to walk you through that shortly, which can be accessed whether you're involved in Envirothon or not. So it's an amazing resource for teachers. Identify your team members and what discipline they'll study, create a schedule for how you're going to approach Envirothon, consider using the course, and register for a regional event. Oh, sorry, we weren't supposed to see that one yet. All right, any questions coming in, or are we good to move forward?
Looks like you're good to go forward, Jacqueline.
Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing this screen and hope I can get back there. And I'd like to walk you through the website, and it's thinktrees.org. This is the Manitoba Forestry Association website, and I just want to show you this because there's amazing resources on here that you might not be aware of. So first we just go into what we do, and you'll see the Manitoba Envirothon there. And when we get into Manitoba Envirothon, we are going to go all the way to the bottom of this page and go to study resources. So here we have aquatics, forestry, soils, wildlife, and the theme. And I just want to showcase to you how each section is set up. So under wildlife, what we have is a bunch of resources. The ones with the double star are what students have to use, study for their regional competition, and the rest are for the provincial competition. But we have some pretty amazing resources all set up here for you. So we have the basic information under their learning packages, but we also have really cool stuff like fur identification, scat identification, the Manitoba trapping guide, the hunting guide. We also have videos on, for example, fur, scat, tracks, population, dental, reading dental, like I'm messing this up. I meant to say reading dental records was what I was going to say, but I know that's the wrong word, so I'm trying to go back in my mind. But we can see that under each resource, there's just so many additional resources for you. Under aquatics, they have one of my very favorite resources, and that is the Manitoba Recreational Fish Key, and also invertebrates. So if you're going down to the lake and you're fishing and you want to know what you're catching and how to tell the difference in the features, even if you take a net and you're finding creatures in the water in Manitoba, this will help guide you to see what it is you're actually looking at. It really helps our kids and our, everybody really to connect with the land around us. Okay, and then training videos as well. It's really fun. I do want to showcase one of the resources that I have here, and that is in our forestry section. Okay, so dichotomous keys is basically a yes or no guide. when you're figuring out features. This is one I wanted to show you. This is the field guide to the trees of Manitoba. This was produced by Manitoba Sustainability, and we use this in Envirothon all the time, but I think that everybody should have one. And if you want a set, let me know and I can put you in contact with them. So this uses the dichotomous keys, you know, a yes/no guide to trees in Manitoba using either their winter twigs or their summer leaves. It's got all of the information in here for you, including the silhouettes of the trees. Let's hold that up close so you can hopefully have a look at that as an example. And it guides you through a yes or no process so that you can figure out what type of tree you're trying to ID. It has both coniferous and deciduous trees. And when you do figure out what your tree is, you turn to that page and it's got some really cool features, such as the tree name in different languages, different indigenous languages in Manitoba. It's got information, and then it also has additional notes. And some of them, it does tell traditional uses of that tree. Okay, so it's really cool. And I absolutely love it. I use it all the time. So if you'd like one of these, just send me a message and we'll get those in your hand. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint. And now we have an actual quiz. So now that this really counts now. And question 1 of the quiz is, in the scientific world, what does scat mean?
So we've got the question, the poll up, and people are responding. We're already at 50%. Still coming in.
If I could answer, I'd choose the dancing to cool jazz music.
It has to be after dark, though. Yes.
Okay, I think we might be done with the voting there, and so I will end polling and share the results.
You bet. 75% of you said animal feces. You got it correct. So I'm kind of disappointed that nobody chose the cool jazz music. But yeah, it's animal feces, it's poo. And that's one of the things that our Envirothon kids love to study, because who doesn't like poo? And they don't realize how scientific poop actually is in connecting with our land and everything around us. So great. Folks, if you can just keep track of how many you're getting correct, we'll poll that at the end as well. Okay, question number 2. What track is this?
Okay, so I will launch the question now that people have had a chance to look at the track. This one's a little slower. It's a trickier one, so it's coming in a little slower.
Mm-hmm.
But we're almost there. Okay. I'm really surprised fish hasn't got any. And there we go.
All right, interesting. So our top 2 were lynx and wolf. And if anybody can go in the chat or the Q&A, and again, I can't see this, so I'll need your help on that. How can you tell the difference between a lynx and a wolf? This is kind of a sub question for this, if anyone knows the answer to that.
I'm not sure. I guess people would have to put their responses in the chat box, because we didn't have that set up as a poll question. Yeah.
Right, just a sub question for interest. Okay, so I'm not sure if anyone shared any of those ideas in the chat.
Yeah, we have Diana said that she thinks lynx tracks are rounder.
Okay. Anything else?
Nope.
All right. So there is some variation with lynx or any felines, and also with any canines, so like wolf, fox, coyote. But the sure way to tell is if you have a nice, clean, clear track. On the lynx track, you won't see, or any feline track, you won't see any claws because they're retractable. Whereas on canines, you'll also see the claw marks on top. Okay, so because this has no claw marks, we can determine that it's feline. And so lynx is the correct answer on that one.
Is there anything about the number of toes?
And again, yeah, that depends on the pad of it, because our canines have dew claws, and I believe all the felines, their fifth is a dew claw as well. So kind of up their wrist a little bit on their paw.
Okay, well, thanks to Francine for that comment.
Mm-hmm. All right, question 3. What is Manitoba's official tree? And it's not chemistry. I wish it was.
I think that's one of the, you gave away one.
Oh, did I? I forgot I put that on there.
Okay, and so to Lorianne and anyone else who maybe isn't seeing the poll questions, Lorianne noted that the potential answers are chemistry, white spruce, jack pine, or maple. So we're getting there. We're at 60% and climbing. And I think we're pretty close to almost everyone having voted here. So I'm going to go ahead and end polling. Oh, one more came in. Anyone else very quickly? Okay, so here we go.
Oh, it is white spruce is the correct answer. Very good.
So 64% got white spruce.
Yeah. Okay, question 4. What type of fish is this? It is a Manitoba species.
Okay, and so is it a swordfish, salmon, piranha, or goldeye? This one's pretty much everyone's agreeing on it. So we're getting there. Almost, yep, I would say that's probably it. We've got everyone in, so I will share the results.
All right, yes, the clue was it's in Manitoba, so yes, it's the goldeye. Also, the clue on the fish itself is it's goldeye. But it's really cool if you print out that key to Manitoba sport fish. It also has a dichotomy where you can figure out the features of the fish, and it will tell you what type of fish you've caught. Really neat. Question 5. What is the name of the underlying material that forms rocks and soil?
This one I have never heard of. So the potential answers are parent material, grandfather rocks, grandfather material, and hard rock cafe with the E missing. Well, Lorianne, who is not able to see the polls and is typing them into the chat box, is doing quite well. Oh, I just gave it away. Okay.
That's right.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, it is called parent material. So that's our underlying bedrock, and it's a great name, easy to remember because it's where all of the smaller rocks and eventually soil and very small particles come from. Parent material. So that's the 5 questions, but there is a bonus question here. And I don't know if we have, oh, we won't show the poll for the bonus question yet. So this is the bonus question. And again, you can write down your answer. It's not on poll, or you can just think your question, but it's how do spiders communicate? And I will give you the answer before we do the poll. The answer is by using the World Wide Web. All right, so now it's time for the poll.
I guess since both Chantal and I are laughing, we should have answered this question as well.
Definitely should have.
All right, we're almost there. I'm not sure. We've got, yeah, 82% there.
World Wide Web.
Oh, sorry, I didn't read out for those who can't see the poll that the first option is yes, you are hilarious. And the other option is no, spiders are no laughing matter.
So it's not did you get it right, it's did you laugh? All right, and if you chose like 80% of us, yes, that this is hilarious, then you get a bonus point on your quiz. So you can actually get 6 out of 5 for that quiz. So make sure you add up what you got correct, add in your bonus question if you laughed, and then we'll do the next poll of what did you get correct? How many did you get correct?
I hope I did this one. You know, this is the same question as before that we did in terms of how many you got right.
It's not, well, it's only out of 5 though, but yeah.
Yeah,
similar.
so it shows 7, but people can just, I'll relaunch it and now you can see it again and just pick how many ones you got right out of the 5 questions.
But you can, if you got them all correct and the bonus, you can get 6 out of 5.
Ah, right.
If you indicate that you get 7 out of 5, that means you're sending me money or some kind of high. So I'll give you an extra bonus point for that. I would always tell my students if they asked what they can do for extra marks or a bribe for a test. I taught high school, so they were always into what can they do to earn extra. And I always told them that I would only ever take 1 bribe in my life, and it has to be good enough to get me through the rest of my life. So if they can afford that, then I'll take it. Because I couldn't possibly continue teaching without that moral standard. So I'll only do it once.
Okay, well, I think everyone probably who wanted to vote has voted. So I will share the results.
Right on, 4 out of 5 is the most. That's great. And we've even got a couple of 6 out of 5s.
Yeah, that's almost half of those who responded. Well, 42% got 4 right. That's great.
That's excellent.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing results now and pass it back to you, Jacqueline.
Sounds good. Thanks, everyone. So yeah, that's just a fun approach to what we do in Envirothon. Of course, it's a lot more intense than that. There's a lot of studying. This is for course credit, but there's a lot of land-based education and connecting to our land around us. That is absolutely phenomenal for our students. I would like to take a quick pause, and if there are any questions, then I'd like to address those.
If you would like to pose a question and you haven't yet, feel free to use either the chat or the Q&A box that you can find along the bottom of your screen if you scroll your cursor over the bottom. So feel free to post any questions for Jacqueline.
The Q&A box has been removed, so they'll have to refer to the chat box. Yes.
Yes, please use the chat box.
My daughter's joining us. All right, so you can let me know if questions come in. I'd also like to just show you some photos of our 2018 Envirothon. We were in Churchill. Again, this was a lot of years of advocating with the Manitoba Forestry Association and the Envirothon board that we need to make this event truly provincial. Typically our events have been held in the south for the provincials, and we just wanted to make sure that all of our students across the province get to experience the beauty of the north as well. So yeah,
just to quickly interject, we do have a couple of questions.
You bet.
So we have Diana S. asking, how do I request purchase tree identification?
Email me and I'll send you the contact.
And then Francis K. is wondering, is this open to all Manitoba schools?
Yes.
All right, and that was it.
Okay.
And Lorianne just commented saying Churchill Envirothon was awesome. Was
yes, Lorianne, I know. We need to head back. Okay, so this is one of our Envirothoners starting the event with our horns. You can see, like, this was not warm. Our provincial Envirothon is actually typically this week. So it's always right after the long weekend, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So that is the time period that we went up there in 2018. And yeah, it wasn't necessarily very warm out, but we do it anyway. We don't cancel events. We don't go inside because of weather unless it were to be dangerous. And so we continued on. So you can see our teams were out right on the tundra. They are doing events. They're going through the stations. They're right in there.
Jacqueline, would it be okay for me to share your email address in the chat box?
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Here's one of our stations. So the students are working separately on some questions, but together as a whole. And again, each student is an expert in their area. So one of these students studied wildlife, one of them studied forestry, and so on. And then they work together as a team. Working and taking a break at the same time, probably trying to warm up a bit. This was Carl. So Carl, the Arctic hare, stayed around the Churchill Northern Study Center, which is where we hosted the field test that you're looking at. And I guess he's the study center rabbit who just likes to stick around. So he was checking out all of our Envirothon teams and our stations as well. Carl. And this is one of my favorite photos because it was our first ever Envirothon event where we had to have an armed bear guard. So we actually had several all around the perimeter of the event, and they were guarding us from bears as we were completing the field test.
Wow. Is that usually, is that typical?
It's typical in Churchill if you're doing excursions to have a bear guard with you. And a lot of people in Churchill have their training for that, and they're certified for that just because it's so needed. So if you're going on hikes with any of the tourist companies or, you know, even on your own, then yeah, it is recommended that you have some kind of protection. And it's all year. Bears don't typically come into town or in the area in winter because they're off on the ice hunting, but there's no guarantee. So they're always around. So the Envirothon is really divided into two portions of the competition. The first portion is the field test, which we talked about. The second portion is an orals competition where the students work together and they come up with a plan to answer a problem or a scenario. And the scenario for this year was, how are we going to, like, what kind of action plan, what kind of citizen science will you develop just to make sure the public and students are involved in what's going on in your home community. So this is an example of one of the posters that one of the teams created. These were their ideas that they came up with. Here's another one. We don't tell them how their posters have to look, so they're all very different, very creative. And then they present their ideas to a panel of judges. Another one of the posters. They used the image of a polar bear that was on all of our t-shirts for that year. And that image came from a student in Churchill. We held a contest just for the students of Churchill to design our t-shirts for that year. So this is the design that won and made it onto our t-shirts. And then they used it on their poster, which is very cool. You can see under the top red block, it's all about scat. You can see the little poo drawing, because kids love to talk about poo. One of our panels of judges, members of the community who were working hard with the orals portion of the competition. And our Envirothon volunteers just staying up late, marking those tests, making sure everything is accurate over and over again. And then of course we have some teams. So this is Norway House, Lorianne. Norway House. We're posing right by the Inukshuk, which is right on Hudson Bay, and it was brutally cold. So this seriously was jackets off, run and take your picture, jackets back on. We also hosted a bonfire right by the bay. So it was a hot dog and marshmallow cookout, again, surrounded by bear guards because we need to be protected. And towards the back behind the Inukshuk, there were 2 seals that kept poking their heads in and out of the ice for the few days that we were there. It was pretty amazing. And that was our crew. All right, so that's about all I have for you, but I'm more than happy to take questions. Yeah, anything at all.
All right, so there wasn't any more questions on the chat board, just some comments. I guess Lorianne was mentioning, woohoo, Norway House, it was amazing. Jonah Lynn, that was amazing. Yeah, and yeah, so they have the email if they have any further questions. Is that it?
I can now see the chat room. I see one from Francine. What would a school do if they wanted to participate? Email me and I'll get you all of the proper information. And we'll help you every step of the way. Envirothon 2021. So that's something we have to discuss because it was supposed to be a return to Churchill. I'm hoping, what I'm advocating for is that we have the Envirothon in a northern community at least once every 3rd year. So this was time to head back to Churchill with everything that got canceled this year and, you know, not fully acting on Churchill in 2021 yet because of everything. And we just have to wait and see right now. So original plan was Churchill for 2021. And you know, if it's going to be my decision, that's where it will be. I've also looked into hosting the provincial event in Thompson and the Paw and some other smaller communities. But what the problem is finding enough places to actually host that amount of people. So we need to host about 200 people in, you know, some kind of dorms, or, you know, if we move to hotel, we don't really have the funding for that. So that's where our problems have been. So our choices for where we can host the provincial event is limited. And Churchill is actually one of the easier ones for us just because we have full access to the school and the town center. You know, our kids were sleeping in the gym and they made tent city in the gym, and that's where we were. So yeah, we made it work, but it can be difficult. We have a lot to consider when we decide where it will be. For the Northern Regional event, every year I flip-flop though between the Paw and Thompson. All right, so yeah, if that's everything, then feel free to reach out, send me an email, and I would look forward to hearing from you and helping you in any way I can to get this going for you. Another idea as well is if you're unsure about how it all goes, you can also start as a volunteer. You don't necessarily have to bring students your first time. You can start as a volunteer and come and check out the event yourself. And I think that's
All right. Great. Thank you so much, Jacqueline.
Yes,
Woo.
thanks to everybody.
I'd play one of those clapping applause things if they had it. Just because everyone's
for myself.
muted. All right. So we're just